Today's guest is Marko Keskinen. Marko is a university lecturer and researcher at the Water and Development Research Group of Aalto University. His expertise covers water resources management, environmental governance, as well as integrated approaches. His research looks at the management of water and related natural resources in Southeast Asia, with focus on transboundary settings, such as the Mekong River Basin shared by several countries. Welcome, Marko, to our course. Today you're going to discuss about water and how it links to food and energy. Can you tell us some examples how energy and water are linked together?
Well, there are different ways, of course, because energy is so multifaceted and water similarly. But I think the most important one would be actually related to renewable energy production, and especially bioenergy and hydropower, which both are remarkable renewable energy types, and at the same time require loads of energy to be produced.
Okay, so how do the food production compete with bioenergy production? Is there a lot of competition?
Yes, you could say so. Of course, it's not always as simple. It depends where you are looking at. But generally, I would say that the bioenergy production often relies on agriculture and non-food crops, and also partly food-related crops. And in that sense, it does compete with food production also.
Can you give us some example where they're not competing and where they are competing very heavily?
Well, here in Finland, for example, I would say that we have abundant water resources. We actually have also agricultural lands available, but not all of them are being used. So in that sense, bioenergy production also through agricultural practices would be quite, in a way, feasible and not competing with the food production. Whereas then in many, for example, developing countries, for example in Africa or Latin America, there might be kind of energy crops bringing more cash, so they are more profitable to be produced, and farmers might be moving towards those for that profit benefit, but at the same time it reduces actually the water availability and land availability for food production in those same areas. And there, if the water and land are anyway scarce, so then it becomes problematic.
Yeah. If we then go to close to our own lives, so what do you think? When we were children, we were told to eat up all our food and not to waste anything. Is that important?
Yes, of course. You should always eat your plate empty, or take as much food as you are able to eat, because food waste and food losses is of course a very big loss of energy, of water, of resources. Our research at Aalto University has shown that we could even feed up to 1 billion people more by reducing the food losses in different phases of food production, from production to transport and then up to our plates and the ways we also throw food to garbage. So in a way there are loads of potential to improve our practices and also save resources, including water, land and energy in the process.
So if I would like to be a very good consumer and eat in a sustainable way, what kind of recommendations do you have? What kind of food or diet to have and what not to have?
Well, there is a concept called water footprint that essentially shows how much water is being used to produce a certain product, whether it's a food product or some other product. And water footprint is actually a very good concept to start with, because it tells you and shows you how differently actually different crops consume water. For example, rice is a very water intensive, water consuming crop, whereas then, for example, potato is much less so. It also depends, of course, where that crop is being produced. So in Finland, in France, in Thailand, all these water footprints are a bit different because it depends on climate and crops being produced. But generally, water footprint would be something that I would start with to be a kind of a good consumer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go now to the lecture.
Thanks. Looking forward for that.